Welcome, High Vibe humans. You are listening to the Golden Guyan Adventure podcast. Hey, all you High Vibe humans, Breezy here, and welcome to the Golden Guyan Adventure podcast. Let's take a deep breath together. And as we exhale, we're going to slowly settle into the space. And as we return to normal breathing, we're going to call in our guides and all the beings that are here for our highest good. Today's episode is going to explore optimism. But before we get into that, last week, last month, last podcast, whenever you listened to it, we talked about creating a new earth. What does this new earth look like? And how can we incarnate it? How can we bring it into being? Well, I believe that one way to do that is by changing our mindset and practicing positive affirmations. So this week, today's show is brought to you by the letter O, which stands for optimism. And these are dark times, and things seem more uncertain than ever. So let's take a look at how cultivating an optimistic outlook can be beneficial. First, I want to thank you to my Patreon supporters for making this possible. So thank you, Patreon supporters, for making a contribution and helping others to stay healthy, stay light, and not give up the fight. If you're interested, subscribe to my Patreon for exclusive content releases and listen to past episodes of this show, as well as never-seen-before YouTube videos. Now, this show is dedicated to the evolution of consciousness on this planet by sharing empirically supported scientific information in order for you, high vibe humans, to make informed decisions about the world around you. There are 3 themes I call attention to. The first is health. This can mean anything from mental health to physical health. The second is light. This is the mystical, spiritual, and conscious connection, such as angels, meditation, or exploring that deeper meaning of life. The last theme is the fight, and this encompasses social justice and political issues that affect us all. This refers to the human systems that we are all a part of and how to integrate this information into our personal realities. You can join the Golden Guyan Adventure community by visiting my website, goldenguyan.com, or my Etsy shop, etsy.com/shop/goldenguyangalery. Today's topic is going to cover optimism and its power, and then we will ask the angels to weigh in on today's topic. I'm very excited because I have a new deck that I'm excited to share with you. So let's begin by asking the very important question, which you can answer in the comments below. What does it mean to be optimistic? What does it mean? Do you imagine somebody that kind of goes through life with rose-colored glasses? Or perhaps it's just somebody that sees the glass as half full. Personally, I am one of those individuals that sees the glass as half full, or 1/8 full, or at least I have water, right? Which, if you have water, I invite you to take a drink now. So, I said, at least I have water, and I closely associate that attitude with that having an attitude for gratitude. And I'm not alone in this thought. In fact, Wikipedia says that being optimistic is a mental attitude reflecting a belief or hope that the outcome of something specific, such as an endeavor, or outcomes in general, will be positive, favorable, and desirable. This is usually referred to in psychology as dispositional optimism. It thus reflects a belief that future conditions will work out for the best. Now, before there's any evidence of such an outcome, this belief is what helps that favorableness to persist. So someone who is optimistic, they will believe that the outcome will be favorable, even if there is no evidence to prove that it will be. They just simply have faith. And this leads to them being more persistent in uncovering other solutions to challenges that might arise. Now, Psychology Today confirms that many psychologists think optimism reflects the belief that the outcomes of events or experiences will generally be positive. Other psychologists contend that optimism is more an explanatory style. So how I explain, well, at least I have a glass of water. At least I have water. It could be another way. So it's another way of explaining life. It resides in the way people explain the cause of events as well, such as getting a good grade on a test. It might be that they studied hard. It could also be that they knew they would perform well, and that reduced their stress response, thus allowing them to think more clearly and ascertain the answers. Now, optimists are likely to see the cause of failure or negative experiences as temporary rather than permanent, specific rather than global, and external rather than internal. What does that mean? So, the causes of failure or negative experiences are temporary. So, the idea that this too shall pass, that change is an ally in our pursuit of happiness, because failure or negative experiences will change and it will not last forever. The optimist tends to focus on causes of failure as specific rather than global. Rather than an intrinsic issue, they think of, oh, well, it is because of X outside of my experience that this failure happened. Such a perspective enables optimists to more easily see the possibility of change and also go after that change. So how does an optimistic attitude lead to a better quality of life? How can it improve our health on a literal level, on a physical level? Well, it's because of that healthier outlook and how it affects your body's stress response. So for those of you that might not be familiar with the stress response, it is your fight or flight response. In other words, it is when you see a threat in your environment and your heart begins to beat faster. Perhaps your palms become sweaty. Perhaps you are breathing deeper, or at least trying to breathe, and that might turn into some sort of panic attack, which is when you have to pull it back, right? So that is the stress response. Now, optimists have healthier outlooks, which have an effect on the body. This type of outlook is less likely to activate the stress response. So, such as they are less susceptible to the negative effects of illness, fatigue, and depression. Optimists have a better pain management system. If we are living with pain, disease, or mental illness, it might benefit us to practice some sort of positive thinking. This might look like practicing phrases such as, I am strong enough. I am safe. I am ready, willing, and able to heal. Helping our subconscious open up to feeling safe and able to relax the body enough so that the immune system can work its magic. Researchers from the University of Kansas and Carnegie Mellon University conducted a meta-analysis to summarize published data from 83 studies. Now, these studies were based on thousands of people. Included in these studies, they concluded that optimism is associated with benefits in survival, pain management, immune function, cardiovascular function, and physical function. This relationship held true among a wide range of patients, including those with cancer, HIV/AIDS, and other chronic illnesses such as heart disease, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, and even healing from major surgeries. That is totally phenomenal and fantastic. I want to encourage all of you to just continue to practice being able to view challenges as optimistic. You know what? And take a drink of water if you agree. If you agree that optimism is amazing and incredible and all that information was just completely amazing. Now, before we go any further, I do want to acknowledge the people who think optimists just are people walking around with rose-colored glasses who are just hopeful, naive fools. Because there is that belief out there. Now, optimism and pessimism are best understood as a continuum, rather than a mutually exclusive dichotomy where they cannot be in the same space at the same time. All right, optimism doesn't mean engaging in wishful or fantastic thinking. It's a way of looking at the world that gives more agency to the optimist. What does that mean? Agency. The idea that you can move through the world, that you can affect the world, that you can also overcome and persist and work through resistance. That's kind of what agency means. It's giving the optimist more agency to take control of their life. Now, there is a belief that one can overcome, succeed, or survive in most cases. That is what exists. So, we can be optimistic. And we can also acknowledge that challenges arise. We can acknowledge the darker side of life. It just doesn't mean that we give into that pessimism extreme of, oh, nothing's going to work out, or because this happened to me in the past, it's always going to happen. It's always going to persist. So we can be optimistic. It's all in the mind. When you change your mind, you can change your life. And research shows that tempering a sunny disposition with a small dose of realism, or even a small dose of pessimism, might be the best way to build resilience and achieve one's goals. Especially if you are somebody who considers yourself an entrepreneur, or a trendsetter, or a pioneer in your field. You know that there is a dose of realism. You know you're going to come up against people who are going to speak negatively about what you are doing in some way. Now, that will help you build resilience. You know that this negativity will be coming to you, so you are better prepared to handle it. And thusly, you are better able to achieve your goals, because the same thing with treating addiction. When you become aware of your triggers, you are able to create, think of, and use tools to help with coping with that trigger response, as opposed to just giving into the addiction again. So as opposed to just giving up to your goal, when a trigger or a negative experience arises in your reality, you are able to reach into your toolkit, pull out your optimistic attitude, and know that you can make it through that tough situation and not give up on your goal. So it might be the best way. Being optimistic is not necessarily always the best strategy, though. It does not apply to all situations. That's optimism bias, the tendency to overestimate the likelihood of positive outcomes and downplay the negative ones. That is probably closer to the definition of rose-colored glasses, the idea that you have optimism bias. You overestimate the likelihood and downplay or underestimate the negative. So, as we think about how this can affect our health, it can help us overcome challenges, it can help us reduce our stress response, it can help us ascribe positive meanings to situations that maybe we had a hard time finding the positive in. Now, it is tempered with a regular estimate of positive outcomes, viewing the evidence, but also knowing that you have the tools within you to overcome challenges. So even if there's no evidence that you might succeed, you know that any unexpected, uncertain events that arise, you have the tools to overcome. This has a spiritual connection, as you can tell. This is talking about our faith and our belief, not only in our ability, but also in probable outcomes. Now, this suggestion is by no means to invalidate the despair, the devastation, and the true fear that accompanies illness, okay? Nor is this to wag my finger at the afflicted by saying, all you have to do is stop thinking negative and start thinking positive. That's not what I'm saying. Rather, this is to say that not doing the bad stuff is not the same as doing good stuff. So not smoking and not drinking alcohol has its benefits. But when you add that with doing good stuff, it has more benefits. There is a positive outcome. So the idea that positive thinking can assist in alleviating illness to a certain degree. Not to say that it's going to heal it entirely, but it can help ease pain. It can reduce suffering. So understanding the benefits of optimism and figuring out ways to utilize it to help us deal with grief, to help us deal with loss. But it helps us deal with problems more effectively by focusing on the solution rather than ruminating about the problem, right? No use crying over spilt milk. No use ruminating over something you are unable to change at that time. What is that phrase that goes, help me to see the things, to accept the things I cannot change, and to act on changing the things that I can. So it helps us to focus on solutions and look for possible solutions rather than chasing our own tails, ruminating on the problem at hand. And when tempered with a deliberate present focus, it helps us make better long-term financial decisions for ourselves. That is very key, especially if you are somebody who thinks they're a pioneer in their field. You want to make long-term financial decisions that benefit you, that your future self will thank you for. So that connects to the fight, that personal social justice connection. The idea that as we are pioneers in our field, as we are entrepreneurs embarking on a journey to change the world around us, there is a perseverance. There is a goal-setting behavior that we need to understand. Just think about the movements supporting Black lives. There's so much divisiveness happening in the media that they have to believe that there will be an optimistic outcome. We have to continue to be optimistic about the course and trajectory of our nation. So when we think about optimism and social justice, it's really about the perseverance to complete a goal and how one can continuously take on risk and systematically improve their chances of succeeding, especially over the long term, especially when succeeding looks depressingly small. Because optimism helps us look at how we can have agency over our experiences. Now, while statistics about being an activist or an entrepreneur success vary, they are all consistent in pointing out how hard it is to succeed. Now, when they think vividly about the distant futures in a positive way, how will the world be like in 10 years from now? How will it be like 20 years from now? This kind of thinking stimulates all kinds of creative ideas, which can lead to creative solutions about such a world. And when we think about this in terms of social justice, when we think of what will the world look like, we can start to think of solutions or policies that we would want to implement now in order to have changes or see changes 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So optimism, when applied to social justice, is all about what a world would look like and how we can get there. And when we think about it broadly, when confronted with something challenging or when undertaking difficult activities or confronting something, the optimists are more persistent and confident as well, because they believe in their ability to overcome, and that there is a solution to a challenge, even if they don't know what it is yet. There is that optimistic outlook, while recognizing the challenges and the negativity that they are facing. There's a balance there. So I hope that this was helpful for you, high vibe humans, in understanding optimism, and that it has more depth and it has more application than one might have thought previously. I'm looking forward to exploring what the angels would like to say on this topic. If you agree, please take a drink of water or drop an 1111 in the comments. We're going to switch gears now and ask the angels what they would like to say about this topic. I'm using the Doreen Virtue or Archangel Oracle deck, and we're going to tune into our angels by taking a deep breath together. And we can begin by exhaling the breath that you're on and inhaling deeply. And as we exhale slowly, we invite our shoulders to relax, our stomach to relax. Taking another deep breath in. And as we exhale, we sink deeper into relaxation. Taking another deep breath in. Exhaling slowly, opening ourselves up to all that's for our highest good. And as we return to normal breathing, we ask, angels, who is with us and would like to say a few things about optimism? All right. We have some cards here. We have 2 cards. Really excited about these 2 cards. They are blocked, which is okay. That just means that we're having some doubts about being optimistic. We're having some doubts about what that really means. So, who is with us today? We have Archangel Raziel. Archangel Raziel, take your power back. Take back your power. That has to do a lot with optimism. The idea that when you are optimistic, you have more autonomy, you have more agency over your environment, over the world around you. So Archangel Raziel is encouraging us to use our God-given power and intention to manifest blessings in our life at this time. So let's take a deep breath. And as we exhale, we're releasing the block to being optimistic. As we exhale and return to normal breathing, we understand we are safe to be optimistic. We are safe to be optimistic. It is safe to take our power back. We thank Archangel Raziel for being here today to remind us that we are luminary beings. We are wise. We are high priestesses and priests. So now is the time to summon our spiritual strength and power and put our authority into action. Put your authority into action in your life as it pertains to your physical health, as it pertains to your spiritual practices, and as it pertains to your fight for social justice, and to have personal power in your life. Lovingly and firmly transform your intentions into reality. Say prayers about your intentions, offer your worries up to the angels, and ask for guidance and signs to help shape your manifestations and lead you on a path towards your highest possible good. Now, Archangel Raziel's name means secrets of God, and this archangel will help you understand esoteric spiritual ideas and apply them in practical ways. This connects to my Patreon Golden Nugget that I was talking about for those of you who are part of my Patreon. So take back your power. Use optimism instead of pessimism in certain situations to help you overcome. There's a tool here that Archangel Raphael is offering. Remember, I said we had 2 cards here. And the second card is Archangel Raphael coming in to remind us to take several deep breaths and exhale slowly to awaken your energy and restore yourself. You need to release old patterns of thinking that being too optimistic is dangerous. You are safe. You are safe to be optimistic. Take a breath and acknowledge your God-given power and intention to manifest blessings in your life. It's so important to use optimism as a tool. It helps us look at the silver lining in our lives, the silver lining in relationships. So together, let's exhale the breath that we're on and inhale deeply. And as we exhale, we're releasing this block to relaxing into our power. We are releasing our resistance to being optimistic when things seem so uncertain. It is safe for us to be optimistic. Archangel Raphael is a healing angel. His name means whom God heals. He is known as the one in charge of physical healings for all living beings. So oftentimes Raphael gives us divine guidance such as intuition, thoughts, ideas, dreams, and so on, about how we can participate in keeping our bodies healthy. If you are listening to this now, this is for you. You are being called to use optimism as a tool to help keep your body healthy. And when you call upon Raphael for healing, pay attention to inner impressions and be sure to follow through upon the guidance that calls you to take action. Take actionable steps towards your goal. Use the tools that are coming to you. Oftentimes during stressful situations, we may unconsciously hold our breath. And it's important to tune into our breath during stressful situations. Because again, once we are aware of our triggers, we are better able to reach into our toolkit and pull out something that is useful for us. Because as you know, the breath is essential to oxygenating your mind, your body, your spirit, and your very life. What do I mean by that? Your blood literally carries oxygen molecules to all the cells in your body, and other molecules are used in respiration of your cells, right? And that oxygenated blood reaches your brain and helps to power that neuron process, firing those neurons. So remember, write a note to yourself to breathe as a reminder of the importance of invigorating yourself with deep and steady breaths. Make trips to places where fresh air is plentiful. You'll also notice an increase in air quality when you're near water, such as a beach or a lake. So perhaps take some time to find some nature around you and go and do some deep breathing exercises. Even taking a shower or a bath can put you in touch with the positive ions associated with water and air. Speaking of which, take a drink of your water. Delicious. So I really thank the angels for assisting us today, for helping us understand that optimism is truly about taking back your divine power, your God-given ability to have positive intention for people, for situations, and for outcomes. And even if you are in a negative situation, it's all about taking several deep breaths, because Archangel Raphael is always with us, always here to help us heal and move through those situations and understand that what is happening to us is important for our spiritual growth. All right, High Vibe humans, thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing your questions in the comments and from hearing from you. Again, please reach out to my Patreon, patreon.com/breezyspreadlove. And I also want to thank Project Bring Me to Life, the Bring Me to Life network, for creating spaces for high vibe humans like us to connect. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in energetically now and in the future, and for sharing this episode with people you think it will help. So thank you for sharing this episode with someone who is in need of these vibes. Alright, so what happens now? I am looking into events and looking into doing some meditations. So please visit my Patreon. Please visit my Instagram, my social media. The links are in the description so that you can connect with me. And be sure to check out my webpage, goldengaian.com, for all upcoming information and resources. So, high vibe humans, just as to end this, to conclude this episode, I want to leave you with some sources for the information that I got. You can find most of these researchers and studies at psychologytoday.com/us/basics/optimism. Alright, high vibe humans, I look forward to seeing you in the next episode, and until next time, stay healthy, stay light, and don't give up the fight. Breezy, out.